Hi, everyone. This is the 50 States Highpointing podcast and YouTube channel. What started off as a project for a communications class has turned into something that I actually love doing. I have the privilege of providing the platform for people to talk about the extraordinary things they do in the outdoors. Highpointing is the challenge of reaching the highest elevation in each of the 50 states. Highpointers don't get paid for their hobby, no one is sponsored by an outdoor company, and people fit this challenge into their everyday lives that also include careers and family. I found through these interviews that people who attempt this challenge are incredible and genuinely enjoy talking about their experiences. If you consider yourself a Highpointer and you want to share your story on this podcast or interview, please send me an email at 50stateshighpointingpodcast@gmail.com. It has been a pleasure speaking with every Highpointer. I hope you enjoy. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the 50 States Highpointing podcast. I'm your host, Lauren, and today we're talking with Jerrod and Tori from Georgia. Jerrod and Tori, thanks for being here.
No problem. Hi.
Hi. This is exciting that we get a father and daughter team on the podcast. This is the first.
All right. Well, we started Highpointing in 2016, so I've been at it about seven years now. Our very first state high point was Alabama. We lived in Georgia at that time at Fort Benning. I'm military, currently retiring this month with 20 years in service. So I have lots.
Congratulations and thank you and your family for your service.
I appreciate it. Yeah, we'll have lots more time to trails, but started out, we were just hiking around just for something to do. We liked it. We went to some waterfalls, Amacola Falls, and then we went to Mount Cheahaw, Alabama. We hiked that one and realized it was a state high point. Thought that was kind of cool, and I started wondering what the state high point of Georgia was. So I looked that up. It was Brasstown Bald, so I did that next.
Right.
I remember practicing for it. We had to climb Stone Mountain. We climbed it multiple times. And we always went there for like the light shows and stuff.
Stone Mountain, because we live in southeast Georgia now, and it's about halfway to going up north. So we don't have any mountains out here where we live on southeast Georgia in the Savannah area. So we're right about at sea level, and it's hard to train up and get elevation. We run up and down lighthouses sometimes out here to
Yeah. So you guys just kind of stumbled into highpointing, kind of like that's similar to my story. I just happened to find myself at a state park in North Carolina called Mount Mitchell State Park. And that was when I realized, oh, this is a state high point. Maybe there's more I can do. And so you kind of stumbled into it similarly.
We did, yeah. And then I just started looking them all up, and I said, oh, this will be cool. It's been hard to fit in. You know, I've been deployed back and forth a lot to different places.
Yeah.
So we're only at 28 right now. Like I said, we've been doing it for several years. So we're just trying to hit 2 or 3 a year, you know.
Yeah. And then Tori, what got you into it?
Oh, he loved like going places, and my traveling. So I never get to go traveling. When I do, I always take the chance to. And all involved, like my mother and my sister can both come. Like they both went.
Yeah.
Super easy. So yeah, I just followed him pretty much.
Yeah,
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. And I'm sure the military lifestyle, while it's not conducive to a lot of things, this one really does get you around the country and probably helps you to, see other parts of the country that you wouldn't normally drive to.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's something I like about it. I like traveling. I like being on the move. I like planning it too. That's I can sit there and plan it, and just I'll look all around the areas, the high point, try to find a cool place to stay or cool places to eat or something to go see while we're there. So I put lots of time and effort into planning it, and that kind of helps get stressed out or get my mind or get looking forward to something coming up. So
that's so cool. And you're creating some memories here with your family and certainly a legacy, every high point. I'm sure there's photographs taken, and that's really, really cool.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The way we log it here, I brought my book, but we each have a high point book, and we.
Oh wow!
we
cool.
Collage. When we go up there, we take a picture collage of each high point, and
write like an entire page.
Yeah, and then just write like kind of like a 1-page summary. Like when we did Kansas High Point, we have a friend in Colorado, so we went and stayed with them in Denver, and ran around with them for a couple different places. So we'll include the whole trip. I don't just try to go knock them all out real quick. I want to go to each state and spend 3 or 4 days there and run around, see things, and do things.
Wow, that is so unique. That book is a very special thing to have.
Yeah, we do a picture collage, and then we do that little 1-page write-up, and then in the front I got a tracker, like date we did it, who joined us. We've had some Army friends come. Like I said, her sister's done about half of them with us. She's not into it as much as Tori. My wife's done one. She doesn't like it at all. She doesn't like being find someplace unique to eat, and travel by different means. Like we'll travel by plane, train. We would try to get on boats sometime. We stayed on a houseboat in Louisiana.
Oh my gosh!
The Louisiana trip was so cool. It's probably one of my favorites.
Tori, what made it special for you?
Definitely the gators. I mean, well, the high point wasn't that exciting.
Yeah, no gators at the high point.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
But and I like pretty much ran up the entire hill of the high point of Louisiana. But on this trip in Louisiana, after the high point, on like this backwoods like swamp area, and there's so many gators, and like the guy on the boat tour was so brave. He would go up and like pick the gators up and stuff, and we got to feed him marshmallows. That was really cool.
We got to hold one. We got to hold a baby gator.
Oh my gosh. So how many have you done so far?
We've done 28 total. Also, we have this little map that when we get back, I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but
yeah, I can. Oh, that's fun.
We come back with the marker, and then we color in the state that we just went to. So
it feels so accomplishing once you get like a really big state done, like Texas.
Yes. Yeah, talk about that one, Guadalupe Mountain. That's not easy.
I remember we found like this rattlesnake, and it was rattling, and it had like there was like a blood streak, like it was eating its prey.
We were glad that he had his mouth, folks. Yeah, we did step right over a rattlesnake there. He was already eating something.
Well, that's good. Typically they rattle because you're too close. So do you have any stories about high points that didn't go as planned?
Maryland.
Yep. So in Maryland.
That was quick.
Ohio. So when I did the Maryland High Point, I rented a big cabin in Maryland. I invited my mom and my in-laws, and we all met up there. They didn't want to do the High Point with me, but they stayed for a while, since we're in the area. But yeah, we had a real good time there. I was just gonna run out, and we were on our way to drive back home, so I was just gonna go hit the Maryland High Point real quick. It's not a very long hike. It's not very high. I thought it'd be simple. I think it was January. It was actually New Year's Day. Not this New Year's Day. It was 2021 New Year's Day. But we we celebrated New Year's with the parents, and then left real early, and we were just going to go knock out the High Point in the morning before everybody got up, and then come back and head out with everybody. But started up, it was snowing, it was freezing. I think it was about right at 0 degrees there. And we climbed about halfway up, and she stepped on some little icy area, and her foot fell through, and there was mud under it, and she pulled her foot back out, and her shoe was swallowed.
There was no shoe to be found.
It was 0 degrees and windy, so I had to throw her on my back and walk back down to the car. And
wow, did you get a picture of that? I mean, I don't know how you would. Maybe like a selfie with Tori on the back of you?
I actually fell down once. It was icy. Yeah. It was real icy. So when she jumped on my back, I took a step and I hit some ice and went right back and landed on her.
Gosh, insult to injury there.
Then we came back and we were all muddy and it was a mess, and we had to clean up. And
we attempted to a second time, and we wanted to do it with my grandmother. It was like in the warmer season.
Oh, okay.
My mom said she was going to do it with us, but then she hurt her leg and we didn't go. So we've attempted to do Maryland twice and haven't done it yet. No.
It just hasn't been in the cards. That's funny. When I ask people that question, like what was what's a high point that just didn't go as planned? It's typically something that people thought would be pretty straightforward. And it's typically something in the East Coast, and it was always in the winter. They're like, I didn't think it would be that bad.
Yeah.
I saw on your map that you colored in Arizona and New Mexico. So those are some higher peaks. Can you talk about those?
Yeah, Arizona was, I think that was the first one where I got elevation sickness. We went down there. We stayed with my mom and my wife. Everybody went on that trip. We Old Western Village. It was a Airbnb, but it came with like a whole tiny house village. They had the train station, the police station, but it's all to yourself. It was really cool, and it wasn't that expensive. Stayed there, and then we did the Grand Canyon. Then we went up north and did Antelope Canyon. But I got some elevation sickness. I even took some pills in the beginning, but yeah, I started getting dizzy and feeling drunk, and I wasn't feeling it at all when I was up there. I got headaches and stuff, but I'm like, turning back at one time, I'm like, I'm super dizzy, and I don't want to pass out and leave her on her own up there. She was.
You'll be like, oh, that one's gonna be the high point, and then you reach it, and then
I know
it gets even taller.
Yeah, the fall summits too. I'm like, there, and then you get there and you're like, oh, it keeps going. Arizona was a hard one. Super fun trip in general with everything else we did, but the high point itself was really difficult. Getting elevation sickness and stuff. Later we did New Mexico on the 4th of July, and I was concerned because I struggled with Arizona, but we didn't have any elevation sickness, and it's actually higher, I think, than Arizona.
It is.
Yeah, we came right back down, and no issues in New Mexico. It was long. It was a long walk. I was a little tired. But...
So can you guys talk about your favorite peaks? If they're the same, that's cool. If you have different peaks that were your favorite, you can tell that story too.
Mine was definitely Virginia because there's horses, and I absolutely love horses. We brought like 2 bananas because they said like you were allowed to like feed them. But there was 2 horses at the very beginning. And when we fed them the bananas, they loved it. And he said, no, save them for the ones out because there's going to be multiple more. And there was this entire field, and there were so many horses, and they were all like super friendly. Well, some of them didn't get too close to most of them, but like they were beautiful, and they didn't want anything to do with us, but they were very pretty, and it was probably my favorite.
Wow, that is such a unique experience. You have had some encounters with wildlife on these high points between rattlesnakes and gators and horses. That's really cool.
Yeah, we had some buffalo in where were we? I think when we did New Mexico, we flew into Colorado and in a buffalo field. But yeah, that's
awesome.
A lot of cool experiences we wouldn't have, and I like it better than going to the typical vacation spots and Disneyland or wherever.
Everyone has been saying that they appreciate these trips with their families where you also get a reward, and that is not just standing on a summit, but doing the whole hike.
You get to see that untraveled part of like people don't.
Yeah.
Wherever the high point is in Louisiana, or what it's a very unique experience.
So, Tori, when you tell your friends at school that you're going high pointing with your dad, and maybe you show them the map of all the peaks that you've summited, what do they say?
They say that's cool. Actually, I remember giving my teacher like the binder ones, and she kept it for like the entire day. She absolutely loved reading through it. She really, really thought that was like super cool.
And Jerrod, when you tell people at work what you're doing with your daughter, what do they say?
Yeah, I think everybody thinks it's pretty cool. I don't know if everybody wants to do it. I've invited a lot of people. We've had a couple people from work go with me a couple times, and I had kids her age too, so it worked out really cool. Mount Mitchell was out. We did an overnight. We did the whole Black Crest Mountain Trail, which was very difficult.
Yeah.
Very difficult, but yeah, he came, and his daughter came around the same age as her, and we camped out and stuff, and it was a really cool experience.
So do you guys ever meet people when you're out doing these trails that maybe are trying to do high points as well, or just are unique characters?
So we definitely met a unique character in where was it? South Dakota. we made it to the top. Once we hit the summit, I think it's Black Elk Peak. Is that right? South Dakota, Black Elk Peak. Yeah, we hit the top, and another guy came up right behind us and hit the top, and he started putting on a giant blow-up Tyrannosaurus Rex suit, and then
as one does
around this Tyrannosaurus Rex suit. World was going on, but apparently he calls himself the Adventure Dino, and it's just something he does. I guess it, something to catch people's eye on his social media or whatever platform he's on. And I thought that was a pretty cool idea. But he's doing all the high points, and when he gets there, he takes a picture in the dino suit. So I thought that was really a bunch of pictures with them.
Oh, well, everyone has their thing. That's certainly right. That's a very unique character, and also a high pointer, sounds like.
Yeah, we meet people every now and then. That guy stood out the most. I intentionally, because it takes you all over the world, so I intentionally have all my Army friends over the last 20 years, people I deployed with and stuff that I kind of don't see anymore, and I probably wouldn't see them unless, I'm coming to their state. So we've in passing through, visit stuff. So that kind of creates a lot of opportunity for that too. Seeing people that I probably wouldn't normally, get to see if I wasn't doing this.
So Tori, how old were you when you summited your first high point?
I don't remember. I was like 7, 8.
So about 2016. So yeah, she was, however old you were in 2016. Now hard out doing math here.
8, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 9.
You were 9. Okay. Wow. So 9 years old. And did you know right away that you wanted to do all 50?
I was not aware that we were doing them until he brought it. Like, he just writes down a plan and I just go because he loves planning trips. And I don't. I just, 2 days before, he'll say, pack your suitcase. And at the very last minute, I'll pack my suitcase. Kind of like that. Have no idea what I'm doing when he's bringing me on these trips. So not until this binder was introduced, I didn't know we were doing all the 50 high points.
So now do you want to do all 50?
Yes, it's like a goal. Like every time that my teacher say, what's your goal? I just say to hike all 50 high points.
And so Jerrod, do you want to do all 50 as well?
Yeah, I want to get to 50. I don't know what I want to do afterwards. I'll have to come up with another hobby. But Black Mountain, Kentucky. We did West Virginia and Kentucky in one trip. Left because there was a huge snow and ice storm coming into West Virginia. So I'm like, that's perfect. So I bought those ice cleats for my shoes, and I wanted to try them out. We had all this winter gear we bought, but I went up intentionally when the snow and ice storm was coming in. And the road signs were flashing, like, turn back, highway danger. Yeah. I rented a Jeep just for that specific thing, but we got up there to West Virginia the day it was supposed to hit, and nothing happened. It was cold, and just a little bit of powdered snow blew around, and I was disappointed. I'm like, no ice for me to try out my new gear and stuff on. So kind of bummed out. We did it and hiked around, and
it was cold enough that my earring froze in my ear, and it was very painful.
It was pretty cold. Her earring froze in her ear.
Wow. Did you write that down in your binder?
Absolutely. But yeah, so we continued on. We stayed at the Greenbrier Hotel in West Virginia, and that was like a major cool experience. It's huge. If you ever up, it's a really cool experience. We went to some other little state parks and stuff around there, and then we went to Black Mountain, Kentucky the next day. And we were driving up the mountain early in the morning. It's still dark, probably like 4 or 5 in the morning. We were going to hike right at sunup, but then the snow hit. It just unleashed at that point. it was snow just unleashed, and Black Mountain got covered, and there was giant icicles coming down the mountain. And it was really cool to take pictures with on the drive up. And we got up there, and I fell. As soon as I got out the car, I didn't make it to the trail. I took one step and just slipped, and I fell right on my hip. It hurt for like a year after, but
pretty short. because when he had that bag on, he tripped, and then we switched gear for like a mile or two, and then I tripped with his bag on. So, and the bag is bad luck, and it's that makes sense.
Trudged up there in the snow, and we got the full winter experience, just like we wanted. It was challenging getting out of there. That Jeep was just sliding down the hill. I'd had the brakes locked up, and it was sliding. I got the full winter experience, so that was really cool. All right, one more unique experience. We did Rhode Island, and we were driving in Rhode Island to go do the High Point, and we did the High Point, and we were coming back, and we were going to do some other up in New England. We think we were hitting Massachusetts and Connecticut, a couple other ones. But driving back from Rhode Island, we were just out in the middle of nowhere, no cars, and we go over a hill in the middle of nowhere, and there was just like 200 Santa Clauses. People, and it was like October or something. It wasn't Christmas time, but it was just out in the middle of nowhere. It was like 200 people in Santa Claus suits, a whole field of them. We were looking at each other like, are you seeing this too? We drove over there. I'm like, I'm going over there. I got to see what in the world is going on in Rhode Island right now. So we drove over there to them, and a state trooper came up and knocked on our window, and I was seeing what's going on. He's like, "Excuse me, sir, are you part of the movie?" I'm like, "Nope." And he's like, "Well, can you move?" So we left, but that was just a really memorable experience. It's kind of odd.
Wow, a movie. It's funny that there's like 200 people dressed as Santa Claus, and the state trooper asks you what you think you're doing.
I remember Connecticut the most because it was pouring rain. It was extremely slippery. I mean, I even remember what state it was, and I usually don't do that. It was like, it was pouring rain. We had to put on like our little ponchos, and it was something, that's for sure.
So if you could redo one peak again, whether you liked it so much you want to do it again, or you just want a different experience, which one would it be?
Ooh, that one's tough. I mean, I like Virginia.
She liked Virginia with the horses. I'll probably do Georgia again, just because I live here, and that'd be a good one to do over. I've never done one more than once.
Okay, yeah. So what's your next one?
We're looking into it, and I'm like I said, I retire here in a couple weeks. So I'm itching to get out and get away.
Yeah, I bet.
I think we've done a lot of the ones that aren't going to be terrible in February. So I'm thinking Arkansas might be an easy one, and maybe we'll do that with Branson, Missouri. We'll fly into St. Louis and go to Branson, Missouri. I've never been there. Catch a dinner show or something, and then Hot Springs, and there's a waterfall there right by Mount Magazine, the biggest waterfall in Arkansas. We always try to see biggest waterfalls too.
Oh, that's very unique. Talk about the waterfalls that you've seen at some of the high points that you've been to.
I don't know what they're all called. Amicola Falls in Georgia is really cool. I don't know what the names of the ones are. I went to one in New Mexico. That was really cool.
Waterfall, and we found this like axolotl, and it was like super cool. We went behind the falls, and it was amazing.
That was actually Mississippi's High Point when we were hiking that. There was a waterfall there, and there's like a little cave behind the waterfall. You can go all back in there. Some salamanders back in there to play with. It was really cool, and I was surprised the terrain for Mississippi. We rented an one. We got the whole RV experience. That was my first time in an RV. But Schmingo State Park, and that's where it was like mountainous and like rocks and caves and just all kinds of cool stuff. Giant swinging bridge over like a roaring muddy river, and it was Schmingo State Park was the Mississippi experience. The High Point itself, that was kind of like an hour or two away, but it's not super strenuous or anything. As I said, especially if I know the High Point isn't going to be super memorable, I try to, mix a bunch of things in with it to make that trip really cool, like the RV and staying at Schmingo State Park. And same thing with Louisiana, the airboat tour in New Orleans, and we slept on a houseboat, and,
Oh, yeah, Louisiana. The one I remember, this is about the High Point, Louisiana. There was, like, millions of, like, mini, like, baby, like tiny frogs all
Oh,
over the ground. Like, it was extremely hard not to step on them. The bugs were bigger than the frogs.
Do you do a lot of research before you go to these places? Like, how did you know about that waterfall and the cave behind it? Or did you just stumble upon that?
I was just looking. I usually get on Google Maps and I'll put it in, then I'll put in tourist attractions or national monuments or state parks, or, and I'll just make notes of anything between here and there or wherever I'm flying into. If I fly into there, like if I fly into Dallas and then drive to, Mount Magazine, Arkansas, what's in between? It's like a 6-hour drive, So I try to find things like that. But yeah, I do a ton of research on, and like I said, that kind of just when I'm stressed out with Army stuff or whatever, it kind of takes my mind off it. I could sit in bed and just plan a trip forever. I keep a little notepad and write down ideas and stuff, places to eat. Like, we've stayed in a teepee, a castle, cabins. We stayed at a goat. What was that, goat camping once?
Oh, yeah.
It was just, they had a bunch of little pygmy goats and pitch a tent and stay there in the woods. Just try to find something cool and fun that you don't see every day.
Yeah, where was the goat camping?
That was in Georgia. That was here in Georgia. 4-wheelers. When we did the Oklahoma High Point, it was like 5 hours out of the way into Texas. But yeah, you could ride 4-wheelers in the canyons, and they had chickens there. You get fresh chicken eggs, and it was just a little shack, and like it had like no plumbing. It just had like a kind of hose running in the window, and I rented it intentionally. I knew what it was. I thought it'd be. We had a windstorm. There was an outhouse, and it blew the toilet paper out of the outhouse and just blew it away. So we had no toilet paper.
And he would touch the cattle skulls.
Yeah, driving in the canyons, there was just animal skulls and bones, and it was really cool. You just ride 4-wheeler around there freely, or horses or whatever. But we did the Oklahoma High Point, and that was in Texas, though. And we drove out of our way to stay at that place that I found in Texas. It was on Airbnb. So just a little shack. Everybody thought we were crazy because we drove 5 hours out of the way to stay at a little shack with no no water or anything, and an outhouse. But
that sounds amazing. And you really have to, it helps if you have an open mind and you're open to these new experiences that might not, or they might be a little out of your comfort zone, because it does make the trip more memorable and more meaningful.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to do a train on one of my next coming ones. I want to take a train, the Amtrak, across country. Maybe get one of those sleeper cars where the bunk beds pull out of the ceiling, and take a train cross country. And I think that'd be a cool experience. We've taken a train, not very far. It's like 12 hours, but man, we only went where we go from Georgia to Florida. Took 12. Had a sleeper car, and I thought it was really cool. I'd like to take one of them all across the country and see the sights. And
you know what was a really cool trip? When we stayed at this cabin that I'm pretty sure was haunted, and like what high point was that? We were with the grandparents.
That was the second day in Maryland. We left. We went from the cabin to an old farmhouse, and it was an old Civil War farmhouse where they rehabilitated injured horses there. Yeah, I had all the old pictures of all the Civil War, officers and stuff that stayed there on the wall, and it was just old, and it was really cool. But
I'm pretty sure it's
a little creepy too.
Yeah, they gave us fresh ground beef, and we got to meet the old cow's friends. That was fun, but that was probably the best ground beef in the world.
Yeah, they brought us some
so good
ground beef. They're slaughtering cows out there. It's a working farm.
Have you guys done all the East Coast peaks?
No, not all of them. I think we got Maine and Maryland and New Hampshire and New York, and a couple of them up in the east, and then we got a lot of the Midwest, the northern part of the Wisconsin and all them states up there. So, and then we got the big ones out west, and Hawaii and Alaska. So.
That'll be so much fun. Oh my gosh, you guys will have to send me an update when you do all those big ones. I really want to know how that goes. And your book, that's so cool.
I read a lot of people's reviews and stuff on All Trail and stuff like that. I'll get on the High Point Facebook group, and I'll kind of ask questions sometimes, like, hey, what's cool to do around there? What's how easy is it to access this road or whatever? So that's helpful. I watched a documentary on YouTube about It was a family that did the Appalachian Trail. They had young kids. I thought that was kind of cool. They did the entire Appalachian Trail with their young kids for a while. They're from Ohio. I remember that because I'm from Ohio initially, but
wow.
But yeah, not kind of whatever, YouTube videos or whatever about the mountain that I'm going to next or the area around it, and just try to pick up on things around the area or things I'd like to do or see or whatever. But
yeah, well, it's really cool to have that Facebook group, isn't it? Like people giving trip reports, because sometimes you can't trust all trails. And so it's fun to hear and see pictures of people who have finished a high point and give a trip report, or some people who ask for advice, or even people link up and say, hey, I want to do this high point between these days. Who else is going to be there? It's really cool to have a community like that.
Yeah, I think it's really cool too. And it's been helpful to me, and I always try to get on there. I usually check Facebook a couple times a day, and I'll see if there's any post on there, people asking questions, I'll put my input in. Or
yeah, I mean, if you can help someone else, certainly that's good. And I'm sure after listening to this podcast or watching this video, people are going to look for all the wildlife that Tori has seen.
Oh yeah, there's a picture on every one of our collages.
Tori, do you give any trip reports like to your friends, or is it just like, do you keep it in your book?
I mostly keep it in my book. My friends aren't, since they live in South Georgia, there's not many mountains here. They don't go hiking as much. So I do tell them about it, but I mostly keep it in the book.
We'll take little trips. Like I said, we go to Stone Mountain a lot. That's about 3.5 hours from us. But if you've never been there, it's just like a giant 500-foot rock in Georgia. And it's 8 miles to go all the way around it to the top. They have a little theme park there. But yeah, we'll go do that 8-mile, maybe climb up and down a couple of times, or we'll go on the Appalachian Trail here in Georgia and hit a little segment. We'll usually do a smaller trip if we're going to do a hard mountain. I'll do a little. So a lot of times one day I'll wake up at 2 a.m. and I'll drive 4 hours. I'll get up to North Georgia about 6:30 when the sun comes up, and then we'll hike from 6:30 to 6:30 at night, and then we'll drive home and get home by midnight, and we'll just do a 20-hour turn and burn to get a training day in sometimes. We've done a ton of times.
Yeah.
A ton of times.
Most recent one was Louisiana. Like we drove for 15 hours straight. It was like a 2-day trip.
Yeah, that was a heck. And then we got back when we went to Orlando to Universal Studios. So we just kept going once we got.
Oh my gosh. So you guys really know what the Alpine Start is then. It's just in a different setting.
Oh yeah. Do you always walk the high points, or do you ever just drive to the top?
I walked.
Hike the mountain from the bottom. You could drive. Even if it's drivable, always got to make sure we got to climb the mountain, or it's not the same.
Yeah, even ones on a flat road, we would stop a little bit back so we could just walk to it.
Yeah, even in Kansas, we're gonna stop a mile short so we could get a mile in on the way.
It's like, as long as you came that far to do something, at least get a good workout and earn the summit in that sense.
In my little rule book.
Oh, I love.
Oh, that's great.
Have the little rocks, and you get to pile them on top to make the state even higher every time. When you pile a rock on top.
Yeah, more rock to the pile. She always does that. We did the Black Mountain Crest Trail, and that was a killer for Mount Mitchell. I think you cross 3 of the tallest mountains east of the Mississippi on that trail. So you cross several mountains before you get to Mount Mitchell.
Wow.
Yeah, that one was real. I missed a wedding because I underestimated how long it would take.
Oh yeah, we had to get dressed in our wedding clothes and at Chuck E. Cheese.
Yeah, we stopped and ate lunch at a Chuck E. Cheese. We missed the wedding, but we got to go to the reception after. But yeah, we were late to that, so we stopped and ate lunch at Chuck E. Cheese and got changed in the bathroom into our wedding clothes and washed up. We were all muddy. It's a break from the military for me. So.
Yeah. No, I agree. When I was in, I kind of used this as an escape, and I would love to kind of plan trips in my head. And it was a really good and healthy distraction. Yeah. And apart from that, it's just a fun way to be in the outdoors when you're not in the field. And I remember before I went out to Washington to do Rainier, I stopped at an outdoor outfitter and I was looking for a backpack. And I just kind of gravitated towards what looked nice from an aesthetic level. And then one of the employees came up to me and said, well, we have to measure your shoulders and your hips and your torso. And I'm like, oh, you're going to fit a back to me? Oh, that's great. I'll take that. I mean, generally you can fit a ruck to you, but like, let's be honest, I'm 5'3". It really never fits.
Yeah. That's kind of, I need to get a real one. I just turned gear today, so I ain't got no Army gear no more. It's all back at CIF. So
I still have my tiny book bag we got from Amazon.
Yeah, it fits something nice too.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. And I loved being able to pick out the color of my equipment. I was like, oh yeah, I want that bright red, and I want my sleeping bag to be bright blue. I want everyone to see me.
Mine was bright.
There's bright pink.
I really want to thank you for your time, because I know that, this is a hobby and everyone is just taking time out of their day to do this.
Thank you for including us.